Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a whole stack of sources, articles, expert analysis, fan reactions, and we really just boil it all down into the core knowledge you need.
Exactly. We're here to give you the shortcut to being the most informed person in the room.
And today, we're diving headfirst into an event that was, it was so much more than just a halftime show.
Oh, absolutely. This wasn't just filler or, background noise. This was a carefully choreographed, strategically brilliant cultural event.
A seismic one. Yeah. And it happened smack dab in the middle of the NFL season.
It really did.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We are focusing completely on the 2025 Detroit Lions Thanksgiving Day Classic.
Yep. The date was Thursday, November 27, 2025.
The opponent was the Green Bay Packers. The game was at Ford Field. And our sources, they all confirm that what happened during that, 7-minute halftime break?
Just 7 minutes.
It cemented itself, instantly. It's one of the greatest moments in Detroit sports and music history.
And our mission today is to really dissect the mechanics of that spectacle. We need to get into the planning, the musical architecture, and the strategy.
The paradox.
The paradox, that's the word. The paradox surrounding the headliner, Jack White, and his completely unannounced, just explosive collaborator.
And this wasn't just, hailed by fans. That's too formal. They were immediately calling it the best Thanksgiving halftime show the Lions have ever had.
Full stop. No debate.
So the absolute heart of this deep dive, the nugget we're chasing,
right,
is that element of surprise.
Right.
You've got a sold-out crowd, a massive national TV audience on Thanksgiving Day that is just steeped in tradition.
A huge cultural moment on the NFL calendar.
And the announced headliner is Jack White, a Detroit legend in his own right.
Yeah.
But the physical shock when Eminem appeared on that stage.
That's what took it from a good show to, like you said, an unforgettable, historic legend.
Yeah.
And what's so fascinating here when you dig into the sources is the context of that collaboration. These are two musical titans.
It's huge.
They individually helped put Detroit back on the global music map, but in different decades, different genres.
And yet this was the first time.
First time. Despite these monumental parallel careers, they had never formally shared a stage or a studio track before this exact 7-minute collision at Ford Field.
Wow.
It was a completely blank slate, totally maximized for shock value.
And when they finally did collide, they didn't do something subtle.
No, not at all.
The sources all detail this high-octane hard rock mashup. It took Eminem's fiercely motivational 2002 anthem, Till I Collapse, and just slammed it directly into the raw punk blues fury of the White Stripes track. Hello, operator.
It wasn't just a collaboration. It was like a perfect piece of Detroit alchemy, synthesizing the city's musical soul right there on the 50-yard line. Okay,
so before we can even properly appreciate the explosion of the performance itself, we have to talk about the context.
Yes, the setup.
The setup that made Eminem's appearance feel like an impossible contradiction. The sources lay out this really clear multi-year strategy that positioned him strictly as an executive.
Right, not as an entertainer.
Exactly. The whole narrative leading up to Thanksgiving was focused on Eminem's new official role.
And the Lions announced this months in advance. It was a strategic, multi-year partnership with Marshall Mathers and his longtime manager, Paul Rosenberg.
And it was specifically to curate and produce the Thanksgiving halftime show, powered by Verizon. This wasn't a one-off gig, right?
No, not at all. The deal runs all the way through 2027. This is a deliberate, serious investment in elevating the entire tradition.
So their official job was what exactly?
They were brought on to consult the club on talent selection, the overall creative direction, and really all aspects of halftime production.
For the annual Thanksgiving Classic.
Yep. And the fact that they secured this commitment through 2027, that signals a huge shift in the cultural importance they place on this holiday tradition.
And the Lions organization, they made sure everyone knew about it. They really amplified this strategic shift.
Oh, they did. Detroit Lions president and CEO Rod Wood was quoted everywhere.
Right. And he was emphasizing the gravity of this partnership. He called Mathers and Rosenberg, two of the most accomplished and respected names in the music industry.
Not to mention longtime Lions fans, which is a key part. It was positioned as an infusion of genuine Detroit creative authority into this huge civic event.
And Rod Wood was really clear about what he thought this would do for the team, for the brand.
He was. He noted that Marshall and Paul's reputation in the business would, quote, attract top-tier talent that maybe the Lions couldn't usually get on their own.
The goal was to solidify this annual performance as one of the most anticipated cultural moments on the NFL calendar.
So he's basically saying, we're not just a football game anymore, we're a destination entertainment event.
Right. It moves the halftime show out of that regional entertainment box and into like nationally anticipated cultural programming.
Yeah.
But okay, this leads us right to the paradox. The genius of the 2025 performance.
The producer versus the performer.
If the goal is elevation, why manage expectations so drastically? The initial reports, and these are confirmed by multiple sources close to the organization, they explicitly stated something.
Right. They said the agreement allowed Eminem to help produce the halftime show, including input on performer selection.
But, and this is the key part, it contained a crucial clause. He would not perform.
And that, right there, that is the ultimate misdirection. The sources established this expectation that he was strictly the curator, the man in the production booth, making the calls.
It's almost unheard of. To have an artist of that magnitude involved and to have an institutional commitment to a non-performance clause?
It is.
I have to push back on that a little bit, though. If you're signing Marshall Mathers to a multi-year deal through 2027, why even agree to a non-performance clause in the first place?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I mean, doesn't that risk setting an expectation that if he never performs, the later shows might feel like a letdown? Or was the plan always to break that clause at the first chance for maximum impact?
And the sources really suggest it was the latter. It was a calculated risk aimed at maximum impact precisely because it was so counterintuitive.
Okay.
There's a quote from Jesse Collins' entertainment VP, Seth Dudowski. His company was involved in the production, and he noted that talks began very early in the NFL season.
So this was planned for a long time.
A long time. And Dudowski stressed the aim was always to create a show that was deeply true to the city, the Lions, and, the vision of Eminem and Paul Rosenberg.
So by stressing the producer role.
They built this wall of misdirection that, when they finally broke through it, produced this exponential, insane energy. They established him as the architect, not the feature, and then just flipped the script.
It's a masterpiece of expectation management, really.
It is. And Paul Rosenberg himself, he underscored this commitment to the long game. He called it an honor to team up with the Lions, to be part of the greatest tradition in Detroit sports.
And he said he was looking forward to unforgettable shows. Plural.
Plural. Again, Rosenberg's language implied curation, production, a long-term vision, not a one-off performance stunt.
And when you look at Rosenberg's whole career with Eminem, this actually fits perfectly.
How so?
Well, he has always guided Eminem's career with this eye toward cultural permanence, business integrity. Aligning Eminem with the Lions for an executive role, it elevates him.
Right. He's more than just a rapper.
Exactly. He becomes this significant cultural and civic figure in Detroit. It's an exercise in brand legacy building.
And the surprise performance becomes the ultimate proof of that commitment. It's like an unexpected gift from the executive.
And we can't overlook the curator's choice, which was so critical to this whole structure.
Jack White.
Jack White. Once Eminem and Rosenberg were locked in, the sources say Jack White quickly became the absolute focus of the halftime discussion.
And his selection was incredibly intentional. It wasn't random. It was designed to leverage his specific rock credibility and his complicated history with the city.
The timing also just added this layer of prestige, didn't it?
A huge layer. Jack White was operating at an incredible career high. He performed at Ford Field just weeks after getting one of the industry's highest honors.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction.
As a member of the White Stripes in November 2025. So you're not just bringing out a rock star. You're bringing out a newly minted Hall of Famer.
Who was handpicked by Detroit's hip-hop icon.
I mean, that level of intention just speaks volumes about the multi-year strategy they have in place.
Okay, so Jack White, he arrives as the announced headliner.
Right.
The expectation was for a pure, high-voltage rock show, a feast of garage rock energy, which is just perfectly suited to a massive stadium on a holiday that's all about massive appetites.
And he definitely delivered on the rock front right out of the gate. He kicked off the set with "That's How I'm Feeling,"
a track from his 2024 album, No Name.
Yep. And this was important because it immediately established his credentials as a relevant, active solo artist. He wasn't just relying on nostalgia for the White Stripes.
It was an affirmation of modern rock relevance.
Exactly.
And then on the flip side of that, the announced set list included the anthem that would end up anchoring the entire performance.
Seven Nation Army.
He closed the show with it after the surprise. And the sources all emphasize that this song is the, quote, now ubiquitous stadium anthem that's echoed across the NFL for more than a decade.
You can't go to a sporting event without hearing it. It's just part of the auditory landscape. It's the perfect piece of stadium rock scaffolding for a grand halftime spectacle.
So that choice of opening and closing, it's a fantastic frame. You start with new material, and you end with the inescapable stadium classic.
And as the performance initially came to its feedback-drenched conclusion, as one source put it, White made sure to give his hometown that passionate shout-out.
I love you, Detroit.
Yeah.
But that shout-out, it holds so much more weight than just a typical concert call-out, doesn't it?
It really does.
We have to talk about the complex relationship that Jack White, born John Anthony Gillis in Detroit, July 9th, 1975, a 12-time Grammy winner, has with his hometown.
Because he is absolutely rooted in the city's garage rock history, but his story also involves a pretty difficult departure.
This is where it gets really interesting. Our sources dig into the fan dialogue around his decision to leave Detroit for Nashville.
Back in 2005.
Right. And this wasn't just, a lifestyle move. It was spurred, according to White's own commentary at the time, by what he called the city's cynical environment towards success.
That's a really powerful criticism to level at your hometown.
It is. He talked about this idea that Rust Belt cities, and he specifically named Detroit and Philadelphia, tended to have this cynical, almost hostile attitude towards success achieved by one of their own.
I remember reading about that. He had that analogy about winning the lottery.
Yeah, he said if you win the lottery, you might give your family and friends $1 million each, but they are going to end up hating you a couple of years later.
He felt it was really difficult to live and create in an environment where, as he saw it, this local jealousy and passive negativity just sort of stifled ambition.
Or at least the appreciation for success.
Right.
So his physical departure 2 decades ago was a direct result of this feeling of localized hostility against his, burgeoning global success.
Which makes this performance so much more meaningful.
Exactly. Headlining this massive televised city-affirming Thanksgiving show, a show curated by Eminem, who is the very embodiment of global Detroit success, it feels like a profound, high-profile act of reconciliation.
It's an affirmation of his connection to Detroit, despite the past comments and the physical distance.
It suggests that maybe 2 decades later, the climate he criticized has shifted.
Or maybe the sheer magnitude of this performance just transcended all those past difficulties. It's a really complex, layered story of hometown pride, exile, and then ultimately return.
And the execution of this return, it involved these incredibly intimate stage logistics, even in this massive venue.
Yeah, the sources detail the presence of 400 Lions season ticket holders.
They volunteered specifically for the show, and they were standing directly in front of the stage.
Which creates this immediate, visceral connection to the core Detroit fan base. It maximizes the energy right at the spot where the surprise is about to drop.
That intentional setup was just critical for the atmosphere. It created a pressure cooker of anticipation.
And what's more, fan observations from inside Ford Field, they noted that the surprise was managed so expertly. It wasn't just an instantaneous draw.
They didn't just flip a switch.
No. White and his band were subtly hinting at it. They were building tension through how they played the music. Maybe a slightly modified rhythm or a prolonged instrumental break.
For about 30 seconds before the actual reveal.
Yeah. That's just masterful, dramatic staging, building that anticipation until it's almost painful,
Okay, we've reached the climax. The stage is set. The rock is raging. The audience is primed.
That 30 seconds of subtle hinting is reaching a fever pitch.
So let's dive into the minute-by-minute anatomy of the moment. Marshall Mathers finally broke the fourth wall of his producer role.
The entrance was just pure theater. I mean, remember, the whole story was that Eminem was the man behind the curtain.
Right.
So to subvert that, he didn't just walk out from the wings.
Yeah.
The sources say Eminem emerged from beneath the stage.
He physically rose up from what one source poetically called the bowels of the stage.
That ascending motion, it immediately underscored the dramatic gravity of the reveal. The already amped-up crowd just instantly registered the historic nature of the moment.
And Ford Field went into what the sources called an unprecedented frenzy.
And his look was perfect. He made sure his appearance paid homage to the city and the team while still being, recognizably him.
He was decked out in a hoodie, the classic Marshall Mathers look.
But paired with a custom-made Detroit Lions jacket. It symbolized his official civic connection to the club.
And he joined them at a specific point, right?
Precisely halfway through the 7-minute set, He was the centerpiece.
And the collaborative track was the fusion of those two anthems we mentioned.
Eminem's 2002 motivational track, Till I Collapse, and the White Stripes' raw blues track, Hello, Operator.
Let's dig into the music theory of that collision for a second, because this is where the technical brilliance really is.
Yeah.
This wasn't just two songs played back to back. The sources called it a high-octane hard rock mashup. It was forcing a cross-genre fusion that most fans never knew they needed.
It's a huge technical challenge.
So how do you do it? How do you successfully merge the driving, percussive rhythm of hip-hop with the heavily distorted, angular blues structure of Jack White's guitar?
That is the core challenge. If you look at the two tracks, Till I Collapse is around, 86 BPM, a classic hip-hop, tempo intense but controlled.
Okay.
Hello, Operator, though, it's faster, it's more frenetic. It often sits closer to 100 BPM when they play it live, driven by that garage rock swagger, so you have to align them.
So they couldn't just layer them. One sound had to adapt to the other?
Precisely. And the sources suggest White's band adapted the tempo of the Hello, Operator riff.
So they throwed it down?
They slowed it down to match the heavier, more controlled 86 BPM of Till I Collapse. This gave Eminem the rhythmic pocket he needed to deliver his dense, rapid-fire lyrics without sounding, mismatched.
And White's guitar tones, they're so gritty and analog.
They provided this foundation that countered the sometimes sterile quality of studio hip-hop backing tracks. It just injected pure rock energy into the performance.
That technical adaptation is so key. It wasn't just White playing his song while Eminem rapped. It was a new piece of music.
It was a true arrangement.
And the reveal itself, it was signaled by an auditory cue.
Yeah.
One fan pointed this out, recognizing the signature left-right left cadence that kicks off the main verses of Till I Collapse.
And that rhythmic signature, it's instantly recognizable to any hip-hop fan. That was the critical sonic trigger that told everyone M was about to pop up.
And the choice of that song, Till I Collapse, is worth a deep dive itself.
It is. It's from the Eminem Show in 2002, features Nate Dogg on the chorus, but critically, it was never released as an official single.
It's an album cut.
Right.
So why choose a non-single for a massive national sports audience? I mean, they might only know the big radio hits. You risk missing a huge chunk of the casual NFL viewers.
Because despite never being a single, it's a cultural phenomenon in the athletic world.
Right, the motivation world.
It is, arguably, one of Eminem's most successful and enduring motivational songs. It's constantly used in sports broadcasts, workout playlists, stadium events.
Because the theme is perfect for a football game. Pushing past failure, determination, the mental grind.
It immediately resonated with the atmosphere of competition and perseverance.
So the fact that it wasn't a single is irrelevant. Its cultural saturation in the world of sports makes it a bigger anthem for Ford Field than maybe even a massive hit like Lose Yourself.
Exactly. It connects immediately to the context of the event.
Okay, but this is also where we hit the inevitable friction point of massive stadium performances.
The technical challenge.
The technical challenges. The fan dialogue in our sources, especially on social media and Reddit, they pointed out some criticism about the vocal performance.
Right. Some critics noted the common issue that stadium sound quality just isn't great, especially for rap vocals layered over heavy rock.
But others went further, questioning if Eminem was rapping live at all.
That's right. One fan specifically said they observed Eminem took the mic away from his mouth and nothing changed.
Which immediately fueled speculation about heavy use of backing tracks, maybe even lip syncing.
Which is pretty common in these high-stakes, quick-change, televised halftime shows. Some fans said they were not particularly impressed with the technical execution, citing the poor acoustics.
But the deeper analysis from other fans provided some crucial context that kind of overshadowed that critique.
It did. First, other dedicated fans confirmed that Eminem's frequent collaborator and D12 member Denaun Porter was on stage.
Right, handling backup vocal duties, as he always does during live sets.
And this is the critical takeaway. Even the people who acknowledged the use of a backing track said that the energy of the performance and the historical gravity of the moment.
It just completely superseded any concerns about sound mixing or technical purity.
Yeah. The mere fact that Marshall Mathers was physically there, in the Lions gear, standing shoulder to shoulder with Jack White, performing this thing no one had ever heard before.
It delivered a magical moment that just transcended the technical limitations of the venue. The moment itself was the message.
Exactly.
And that brings us to why this collaboration was so much more than just a musical stunt.
It was a potent celebration of Detroit's entire musical lineage.
It proved that two genres that seem so different, rock and hip-hop, are actually united by this raw working-class energy of the city.
That is the essential insight. I mean, Detroit is globally recognized as a powerhouse. It's known as a major epicenter for, three revolutionary musical development.
Motown, which shaped mid-century pop.
Early punk rock or proto-punk, bands like the MC5 and Iggy and the Stooges.
And of course, techno, which just fundamentally changed electronic music for the entire world.
Right. But within that rich history, you have the modern giants.
And in this collision, we had Eminem, a monumental figure of Detroit hip-hop. He's critically acclaimed as one of the greatest rappers of all time.
But his impact is also sociological. He globally broke racial barriers for the acceptance of white rappers in popular music.
And his success, it's not just musical. It's this global story of ambition and survival, and it's so deeply rooted in the Detroit experience.
And then you have Jack White, the undisputed torchbearer for Detroit's rock tradition in the 21st century.
His work with the White Stripes, it revitalized the punk blues and blues rock genres. He injected this raw, minimalist energy back into rock that had kind of been missing.
He and other bands in the early 2000s, they confirmed that Detroit was still at the center of these high-energy foundational rock movements.
And what's truly remarkable, when you think about their shared geography and cultural proximity, is just how rare this collaboration was.
That's the thing. Despite both being massive, Detroit-born stars whose careers overlapped for more than 2 decades, this Thanksgiving set was officially their first collaboration ever.
Wild.
Which is why the Lions halftime show felt like such a monumental cultural union. The show wasn't just performing music, it was performing Detroit pride.
It was a celebration of Detroit's musical heritage.
And it successfully showcased 2 artists at the absolute peak of their careers, delivering a moment that deliberately transcended typical sports entertainment.
By fusing the city's dominant, modern sounds rock and hip-hop.
And it also reflects this shared artistic openness to cross-genre pollination. We might think of them as being in their own boxes, Eminem in hip-hop, White in rock.
But both of them have a history of successful experimentation that really paved the way for this mashup.
Absolutely. If you look at Eminem's track record, he has historically collaborated with artists outside the box to great success.
Like the polished pop of Rihanna or the acoustic style of Ed Sheeran.
He's always understood that musical chemistry often thrives when different sounds collide.
And similarly, Jack White, who is known for his fiercely analog and rock pure sensibilities, he isn't immune to fusion either.
Right. He famously worked with Q-Tip from A Tribe Called Quest on his 2022 album Entering Heaven Alive.
So it suggests both artists deeply respect different musical forms, and they actively seek out these successful fusion points.
Which makes the Till I Collapse Hello Operator mashup feel like a logical culmination of their shared creative interests.
They took the specific components of the Detroit DNA, the raw, driving force of White's punk blues,
the intense, rhythmic, lyrical precision of Eminem's hip-hop,
and the shared undercurrent of Motown's inherent structure.
And they synthesized it into a single high-voltage burst of civic pride live on national television. It wasn't just entertaining, it was culturally validating for the city.
So the moment the final feedback died down, the message was just crystal clear.
Yep. The immediate aftermath of the performance was unanimous. It was a massive success, widely praised, and it instantly set an incredibly high bar for future productions.
This one performance, it fundamentally changed the calculus for the Detroit Lions Thanksgiving halftime show, didn't it?
Completely.
Yeah.
Fans now have incredibly high expectations for similar surprise collaborations or these massive genre-defying spectacles in the future.
They know the man behind the curtain, Eminem, has both the connections and the creative vision to pull off the impossible.
And crucially, this isn't a single-year challenge. Eminem and Paul Rosenberg are locked in as executive producers through 2027.
So this guarantees that their vision dedicated to unforgettable shows featuring world-class artists is going to shape this holiday tradition for the next several years.
The pressure to top 2025 starts now.
The sources, quote, Rod Wood again, emphasizing the strategic value that this performance immediately gave the Lions organization.
He explicitly noted that their new reputation, tied to Marshall and Paul, will ensure they can attract top-tier talent and help solidify this annual performance as one of the most anticipated cultural moments on the NFL calendar.
Let's just reflect on what that means for the overall NFL entertainment landscape for a second.
Okay.
Traditionally, only the Super Bowl is guaranteed to be a globally anticipated cultural moment.
Right.
by executing a surprise of this magnitude, the Detroit Lions have basically established their annual Thanksgiving show as the second most important entertainment slot in the league.
And they did it by leveraging hometown identity, not just global pop stars.
Exactly. The success hinges entirely on the power of hometown pride and genuine creative authority.
Both Jack White and Eminem represent the absolute zenith of Detroit's rich musical legacy, just in different eras and genres.
And the success of pairing them demonstrated this profound commitment to featuring artists who authentically represent the city.
That commitment to celebrating Detroit's legacy, it seems poised to continue as the partnership moves forward. It makes the 2026 and 2027 shows mandatory viewing.
And you have to wonder about the logistics of keeping a secret like that for years to come.
Well, they proved they could keep a secret on the grandest stage in 2025.
Now that the precedent is set, every Thanksgiving, the audience will be waiting. They'll be analyzing every pre-show interview, every production detail.
Searching for that crack in the facade that signals the next unannounced appearance.
That's the power of the legacy they just built. They created a new kind of anticipation.
The show is no longer just about who is playing, but who might show up with them.
It shifts the whole dynamic from a scheduled concert to a potential event.
A true event.
So what does this entire strategic, technical, and historical deep dive mean for you, the learner? We've uncovered several crucial insights about this landmark performance.
First, there's the strategic genius of the executive role. Eminem served as the executive producer, which made his eventual performance as a surprise guest alongside Jack White the ultimate unexpected power move.
It utilized a deliberate multi-year plan of misdirection to achieve maximum cultural velocity.
Second, the historic musical analysis. The collision of two Detroit legends finally sharing a stage to mash up 2 decades of hip-hop and garage rock history.
And proving the inherent structural and energetic compatibility of Till I Collapse and Hello Operator.
And finally, the outcome. The event proved that the Lions Thanksgiving halftime show is now officially a major cultural entertainment destination.
And it's intrinsically tied to the celebration of Detroit pride and its unparalleled musical heritage, raising the bar for every single show through 2027. So, given the massive, overwhelming success of this surprise performance and Eminem's multi-year contract to curate the show, this raises a genuinely important question for you to mull over as you reflect on Detroit's rich musical past.
Considering that deep, deep pool of Detroit musical legends spanning genres from the classic structural perfection of Motown, the pioneering synthetic roots of techno, to the diverse landscape of hip-hop and rock, what iconic Detroit musical legend who has yet to collaborate with Marshall Mathers, should Eminem and Paul Rosenberg target next in 2026 to match or ultimately surpass this unprecedented cross-genre moment?